ready to branch out, to take a leap of faith, to love yourself and others fully? Then let go of whatever no longer serves you to take action now on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Erica will energize and excite you to power up your passionate dream that sets your soul on fire. With Erica's E3 approach, equipping, empowering, and enlightening yourself so you can be yourself for yourself. Get ready and get rooted to live a life without regrets, without what ifs, without should haves, and especially without empty feelings from a life unexplored. This hit show helps you build powerful and intentional roots to live it up, love it up, and let it go. Get fearlessly ready and powerfully rooted in your yes with your host, Erica Gifford Mills, and be fearless about your more and stand in your yes. Now on Get Rooted Radio.
Welcome, everyone. I am Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go, right here on Transformation Talk Revolution. A big shout out to my producer today, Sierra. How are you doing?
I am so good. How are you?
I am doing really well, and I'm very excited. And I'm sure you noticed I did not say Transformation Talk Radio, but rather Revolution. And so I want to welcome you to the all-new Revolution, part of the Transformation Network. You can now watch my show live or on demand at TTRnetwork.com. Make sure to subscribe for updates so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, you can join me live. Just click on the player and hit the Ask button to send your comments and questions during the show. So it's going to be awesome. So join the conversation if you are listening live. If you have questions, if you are listening to a replay, please just send them in and I'm happy to answer any ones that you have. So with that, I want to kick off today's episode titled Practice Makes Progress. Kind of see what we did there? Do you hear perfectionist as a derogatory term? Do you run from that label? Well, today my guest, Dan Burnett, and I will explore the difference between striving for excellence and chasing perfection. We will discuss a healthier, more sustainable approach to personal and professional growth, where excellence is pursued without the unrealistic pressure to be flawless. Listeners, get ready to reframe your mindset to focus on progress over perfection. But first, a little bit about my guest. Dan Burnett is a seasoned professional in workplace learning and talent development, with a deep passion for helping individuals and organizations unlock their potential and achieve lasting success. As both a skilled facilitator and empathetic coach, Dan brings an engaging, human-centered approach to leadership development, performance growth, and organizational transformation, which is so needed in today's environment. Over the course of his career, Dan has partnered with leaders, teams, and professionals across diverse industries, guiding them through change, strengthening learning culture, and building capacity for performance. His strengths lie in creating safe spaces for growth, fostering trust and self-awareness, and translating development goals into actionable pathways. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Dan.
Erica, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm glad to be here. And how exciting, did I hear this right? Am I the first guest of yours in the new Revolution brand?
Yes, and we are going to make a revolution because I'm all about making things experiences and truly, not just a passion, but a movement. And so being part of a revolution, hey, I'm all for that.
Yeah, I agree. Sign me up.
Yeah. So during this first segment, I want to talk about the P word, right? And for those who may not know, it's perfectionist, right? Or perfectionism. So tell me about that label of perfectionist and why you view that and how you view that, I should say, both.
Yeah, and I call it the P word intentionally there to kind of evoke the sense of like it's a naughty word.
Yeah,
Right?
it's a swear. And my mom says, don't use
And
swears, don't use swears.
100%. And that's how I've heard it for the majority of my life. I viewed it as a pejorative.
Yeah.
And when someone would call me a perfectionist or oh, you're just trying to make that perfect, It's the way that folks communicate that, right? I never heard it in such a way as, "Hey, Dan, I just wanted to pull you aside and let you know, like, the way that you strive for perfection on that was really fantastic. Thank you for that." That's never the way I heard it. It was always, "Oh, you're such a perfectionist." And so that was just years and years of conditioning that just made me want to shy away from that label. And I always felt like when that term, when that label presented itself, I always felt like, oh my gosh, all this time, all this effort, all this progress that I thought I made, and helping, to work on how I wanted to show up with others, and how others perceived me as a person and as a professional. Gosh, I missed the mark there somewhere, because now we're back to that P word label.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've kind of been experienced this your whole life, but when did you really become aware that you didn't like being called a perfectionist?
Yeah, it certainly has been with me my whole life. I think that's a part of what's important to understand with this whole subject. It's not as though at one point I woke up and I was in my early 20s and decided, hey, I want to strive for perfection today. It was, it's just a part of who I am. It's been a part of me my whole life. Now, in my childhood, I certainly wasn't aware of it like I was when I became an adult. Um, Certainly people would point it out, whether it was teachers or even family members. But I think it showed up different for me as a child. I would say that in my youth, it really manifested itself as shyness and being very reserved,
Yeah.
which again, while I wasn't connecting that with perfectionism, looking back, I really think um, I recognize now that I was picking my spots, very carefully picking my spots, likely because I was trying to avoid making a mistake.
Yeah. Which makes sense, because people think mistakes, some people think mistakes are failures. And yeah, you fail, but if you learn from it, it's not a bad thing. I mean, and I never get this saying right, but it's Thomas Edison. How did he learn? How many times did he fail at creating?
Right, right.
But he only took that needed that one time to be successful. And you just learn, okay, well, this is not the way to do it. Here's a better way. And even if you don't fail, we can always find a better way to do something. What's more effective? What's more, efficient? What's more maybe customer or user friendly? And so I think trying to be a perfectionist, if we don't label it as a swear word, as a naughty word, we can improve on everything we do. And I think that's great. But sometimes things just need to be good enough, and don't let it stop you. That's I found me for this. I'll make it an I statement. How I personally, sometimes I've held off on doing things or launching something until everything was in place and everything was perfect. And then I never ended up finishing it because I kept holding off because it wasn't just right yet. And I think that's where we get into that term perfectionist or perfectionism being a derogatory
Sure.
remark or word.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel like you've been misunderstood in trying to do that and trying to be that perfectionist?
Absolutely. And um, again, I don't know that I was, uh, to be clear, I don't know that I've ever felt like I was purposely setting out to try to achieve
Oh yeah.
perfection, right?
Yep.
And so I think part of it is um, thinking about what the story is in my head, what that narrative is for me, um, and that's why I love what we did with the title of this episode, right? It's not about practice making perfect, which is a very common saying. Um,
Yes.
it's actually I did a little bit of research recently online, and as much as you can believe the internet, anyway, it appears as though that phrase has been around for almost 250 years. This
Wow.
idea of practice makes perfect, and as much as I strive for excellence, I'm completely okay without achieving perfection because I'm embracing that progress, those small steps along the way. But back to your question about just being misunderstood. I think what has happened for me anyway in my life is my strive for excellence. At times, people have perceived that as though Dan has never really had any hardships, right? Dan hasn't really experienced any of the messiness in life. And I mean, everybody does. And I'm a firm believer that we all, take our turn and we all have our own burdens to bear. Um, but though I might not lead with that messiness, that doesn't mean, again, that I don't, have that as part of my life. It doesn't mean that my life has been quote unquote perfect. And by living that way, that's not a faulty process of mine. It's not a choice that I made. That's a wrong choice to be judged by others. It's what my natural inclination is. It's actually me coming from my place of my source of strength.
Yeah.
And if you want Dan at his best, part of that means Dan is going to strive to get as near of perfection as he can. And I've had people throughout the course of my life say to me, and this is one of the biggest points that I think the listeners can take in this whole idea of being misunderstood. Sometimes people think that it helps if they say, "Hey, this doesn't have to be perfect."
Right,
That,
right. Well, and I
that
think
doesn't
that's
make me feel any better.
no, and I think people maybe it's the way it comes across. I think that if we can learn not to say it's just going to be good enough, right? Just we can fix something as it comes up, right? We don't want to look at all of our life like that because I don't want to look at my life like that. But if we can say, yeah, I'm not striving for perfection, but I am trying to work through any obstacles we might find so that we have identified that before we come to it. And I know I get stuck into that loop. Well, what I want to do is we're coming up on our first break here, and we're going to talk about your best self when we come back. But before we go, Dan, tell folks how they can connect with you, learn more about you and all that you have to offer.
Certainly, the easiest way to learn more, I have a website you could go to, dan-burnett.com. And there you can find links to my LinkedIn profile and just any other contact methods. So www.dan-burnett.com.
Thank you so much. You're listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any portion of today's episode, you can catch it on getrootedradio.com. Don't forget to subscribe online to receive the latest news, events, specials, and words of encouragement. Go to getrootedradio.com. And don't forget, listeners, with this new revolution, you can interact live on the show. If you're listening live on the ttrnetwork.com, just hit that ask and you can participate in today's show. Welcome back to my guest, Dan Burnett. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you again.
So during our first segment, we discussed the P word, perfectionist or perfectionism. And during this segment, we're going to talk about your best self. So tell me about your pursuit of improvement and being the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I've got just a really deep, strong passion that we are all a work in progress and that we are all just full of endless potential. And, it's interesting. I think if you were to ask the people that know me best, they would acknowledge that I'm usually not the first person, out in line when it comes to technology advances or just some of the other new advances in society. Um, I wouldn't necessarily be considered an early adopter, as it were. But when it comes to us as people, I very much am averse to the status quo. And sayings like, "Hey, that's the way we've always done it," or "Hey, we've done it before, so we'll just do it that way again," and kind of a rinse and repeat. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that just totally conflicts with kind of my core. And I have this saying again. People that are closest to me would know. I often say I'm disappointed by how predictable people are, and it's a little bit tongue in cheek because that's exactly what predictability means, right? I shouldn't be
Yeah.
disappointed by that. It's exactly what I should have expected. Yet, golly, I sure do get disappointed by that at times, that people so easily and quickly fall back into old routine and habit and
Mm-hmm.
less than effective behavior and things. So, um, wasted talent is, and I don't even necessarily mean talent like, being able to juggle or play the piano or something, but just us as humans and our talent to um, connect with one another, build relationship, um, bring joy to someone else's life, just our interactivity with other humans. Um, I lament that wasted talent.
And and it's funny because we all get into where that comfort zone, right? It feels comfortable. The unknown, that's scary, right? And so it's easier to think of all the things that could go wrong or lopsided than to think it could go very successfully. But I also think, you get into, I'm definitely one for, let's not recreate the wheel. And I do, to an extent, believe in the, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if we don't look at ourselves in processes, policies, work instructions, and say, "Hey, we've been doing it this way for a long time. Yes, it's been working, but is there a way we can do it more efficiently, more effectively? How can we improve on it?" I think we do a disservice to ourselves. If you're an entrepreneur, your organization, if you're with a company, the overall organization, but it also helps you think out of the box and learn new skills. And we all need to learn new skills, right? We all need to make sure that we are expanding. So if at some point in time we need to go out there and do something new, we have something to build off of. And I think that, from my perspective, is that pursuit of improvement. I like to say I'm a lifelong learner. I love to
Yeah.
learn and do things. Now, there are some things, I'll be honest, I have no desire. Like, should I learn how to do this? Yes. Do I want to? No. So is that an opportunity to say, I know I need to do this. I have no desire to learn how to do this. Then I'm going to outsource it. So you still have to have that frame of mind that, yeah, I need to continually be growing, improving, learning new things, but you also have to learn where and how to set those standards and ideals. So I think you kind of touched about it, but where do you think you found and many other people find or create their high standards and ideals from?
Yeah, I love excellence. I love watching excellence in others. To me, there's no um, more enjoyable thing than to watch somebody else do
Yeah.
something that they really excel at. And again, that could be something like someone who's a podcast host, right? That could be someone who's really good at leading a meeting. That could be a salesperson who's really good at a negotiation. That could be someone who's providing customer service and handling a sensitive situation with a customer, whatever it might be. I
Yeah.
love watching that. And I would say for me, and I'll use a personal story here as an example. So I have this ring, and I should have brought it with me today. I have this ring from my dad, So my dad was an avid bowler, and I think, and my dad has since passed away, but I think one of his biggest disappointments in life was that his son didn't become a better bowler. Like it just wasn't you want to talk about the things that I do not excel at. That is very much near the top of the list. But anyway, he had achieved a 300 game in bowling, and he got this ring from, I don't know, the American Bowling Congress or something, I think it was, to commemorate that achievement. And that ring to me symbolizes excellence. And what it takes to achieve a 300 game in bowling, 12 strikes in a row, and I think of all the things that could come up within that game, not the least of which is just your own nerves of knowing that, hey, that's 9 strikes, that's 10 strike, right? And to have achieved that to me is a pursuit that I'm always after, and that's really hard because there aren't many things in life, at least not in my life, that you can measure with that amount of objectivity, right? Um, you you can't really argue like, well, I mean, yes, you got a 300 game, but you could have done a little bit better, right? Like, you sure,
You can't, yeah.
maybe I missed the board on the lane by a half an inch that I was aiming for, but I got lucky. It doesn't matter. You still got a strike, and um, at the Erica, I'm sure that you reflect back on your shows afterwards, and hey, I really like the way I set up this segment, or I should have asked this follow-up question. It's really,
Yeah.
but how do you really measure what you know, what a quote unquote perfect episode would be as a host? And um, but that motivates me, and this idea of in my world, so I'm a golfer. I enjoy golfing. I suppose getting a hole in one would be a perfection on that one hole, right? You could maybe argue, yeah, it would have the shot would have been a prettier looking shot if I had hit it, a little bit higher, or if I would have hit a draw and moved it around the tree or something. And but again, the end result is still perfect for that hole. I couldn't have gotten any
Right.
better at it. Um, but I promise you, after this show, I'll reflect on the responses to your questions, and I'll think of things. Oh, I could have done that a little bit better. I could have done this a little bit differently. So again, this idea of pursuit of excellence, especially in a world where it's really hard to have an objective measure of that, it's oddly maybe motivating to me.
Well, and I think that is, it's very hard. Everybody's measure of excellence can be very different. And so how do you know if you've ever achieved it? And then they could have that downside to that, and how is that, like, if you're always chasing that perfectionism, you're chasing that measure of excellence. If you don't, it's almost as if you need to say, hey, at the beginning of this project, because I know the type of person I am, I'm going to consider this successful if, right? Blah, blah, blah. And, but I also believe, because if you've ever been in a law firm, a corporation, any sort of business where you want to, like, okay, we had this big project, we were successful, maybe you won a bid, maybe you won the case, but let's debrief on best practices. Where could we have made this better? Where could we have cleaned things up and make it tighter? Where did we kind of stumble? And look at it. And that's standard operating procedure, right? We look
Right.
at a debrief and say, let's look at what we could have done better, and let's look at where we excelled, and do more of that, right? Do more of where we excelled, fix where we stumbled, so that it's even smoother next time. So I don't know that that's a bad thing. However, where do you think that those sort of things hurt you when you're always chasing
I absolutely have had experiences in my life where I've gone too far with that pursuit of excellence, and I've actually taken a step backwards. Then,
that?
right? Like it's you've tried so hard to refine and to get something just right, and you actually kind of cross the threshold where it regresses a little bit.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of knowing where that limit is to say this is the place where I need to stop, and not to say that this is where good is good enough, but I think you find if you can define, so you talk about the projects and things that as examples in the workplace, if you can go into those projects understanding how much time do you have, what are the resources, what is the budget, who is the audience? Is this something that's going to touch 5 other human beings? Is this going to touch 500 human beings? So you kind of know all those guardrails, and then within that, you can do your best work. Versus, I've had bosses in past lives who have said, Dan, it's okay if you do C level work on this. I'm like, no, that doesn't resonate with me. Like
Exactly.
I'm going to do my A level work. I'm at least going to try to do A level work. I might scale it back based on the parameters of the project, but within those parameters, you're going to get my very best.
And I think that's important. That I mean, it's a sense of pride. I feel like it's not about other people. It's about how do I feel about the output, the work I did. It may not have been as successful as I wanted, but I did everything to the best of my ability, and I learned how to do something different for the next time. Well, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about continuous learning. But before we go, tell folks how they can connect with you.
Yeah, connect with me. You can look at my website online, www.dan-burnett.com, and you could connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me right on the website. Be happy to hear from you.
Thank you, Dan. I'm Erica Gifford Mills, and you are listening to Get Rooted Radio, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Don't forget to visit getrootedradio.com to listen to a replay of this episode, sign up for helpful tips, and learn about upcoming events. That's getrootedradio.com. Make sure you join the revolution. And if you want to be participating in today's show or a future episode, just go to ttrnetwork.com and click that ask button. Welcome back to my guest, Dan Burnett. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
I'm really enjoying it. Thank you again for the engaging conversation.
Yes. So during the last segments, we've discussed perfectionism or perfectionists, right? And your best self. And during this segment, we're going to discuss continuous learning. So, what to you first is continuous learning? And what is the connection between your strong drive to experience the ideal and your career?
Yeah, and I think we touched on it a little bit earlier, Erica, that that skill development, the identifying those areas where either through just need or to meet an expectation of of your job or a volunteer opportunity, whatever it might be, to add on to your skill set. And part of continuous learning isn't just the doing it ongoing or regularly. To me, part of that definition is folding it into the regular day, right? It's not a separate thing or an extra thing. And that's something that I try to pride myself on in my role in workplace learning, is it can be folded into your normal work day. Now, and that's interesting, I think, in that I didn't even know that the field of workplace learning, training, learning and development, I didn't even know those fields existed when I graduated from college. I kind of stumbled into this career a little bit. I have a degree in elementary education. I thought I was going to be a school teacher, and again, kind of learned about adult education or this field of learning in the workplace a bit by accident. but then absolutely fell in love with it because of its connection to continuous learning and my passion, my interest in like I love designing activities and programs that help people experience success. And
Yes.
for them, it gives them a glimpse into their own potential that maybe they didn't even realize that they had, and they can unlock that potential. That's just very fulfilling and rewarding for me.
So, what would be the biggest myth or conception employees and even company leaders and managers have about growth and improvement? And how do we influence them both, right? Influence employees to be continuous learners, to be lifelong learners, but also how do we influence companies that their leaders and managers should promote this across the board?
Yeah, so I have two myths that I'll mention and or misconceptions, and the first, the most common, it's something I've heard for almost 25 years in this industry, is that I don't have time for it. I don't have time to learn, and um, if that is you can't afford not to make time to learn and to grow, and part of that feeling, I think, comes from what I mentioned earlier about it feeling like a separate thing. Right? You're taking a break from the work that you're doing, and it's going to sit there and wait for you while you learn for an hour or whatever it is. So that would be the first, and then the second, and this is speaking more so to the managers, the senior leaders in a company, is that development or learning is somebody else's responsibility. And any listeners out there, if you have direct reports, it is your responsibility, is I would argue your greatest responsibility to invest in your people and to take an active role in developing your people. And it is not a function solely of somebody who works in a training or L&D department such as myself. Now, as far as what do we do about that, there's a few different things that I have found to be successful, and they all lead towards creating what we call a culture of learning. So in a workplace where it just becomes part of the standard, part of the norm, is that we learn and grow. And getting employees involved is one of the best ways to do that. And what I mean by getting them involved is I'm a big proponent of peer-to-peer learning. And usually the best learning doesn't come from me or doesn't come from anyone on my team. We might set the stage just right. We might create an environment that is rich for learning to occur. But it is other actors that are taking a more active role in passing on what they learned to others, or to put their heads together and uncover something that is new to the both of them. So I think if there are any workplace learning professionals listening, what I would say is if you can kind of elevate your people above yourself and realize it's not all about you. It's not about you standing in front of a group of people and saying, I'm the expert, I'm the teacher, I'm the instructor, you're going to learn from me. Like getting others involved in that is key. And then design these activities, design these programs to help them achieve success. And it can be very small, but that early hint, that early taste of success gets them hooked. And then they're gonna, want more of that and more of that. So um, I'm I'm a big proponent of I want one small thing that our employees can learn and take that and apply it, implement, be successful at it, versus, hey, I've got 100 things on my agenda today that I need to get in front of you. Again, it's not about me. It's about my learners. And if I can set you up so you can leave with one thing that you can apply immediately, and help you to be more effective in your role, I know you're going to come back and ask for it next time. It won't feel like I'm trying to push it on you.
Yeah. And I think that you went over not only the learners, but then it shows immediate impact to the company leaders and managers that, hey, I've seen this impact already. So one more question before we hit to a break, because I think, AI is all over the place. So how have advances not only in technology, but the advent of AI impacted the desire and ability to grow with everybody, right, across the board?
Yeah, I think it has the potential to be, one of the greatest things in helping us grow. It also could hinder it more than anything we've seen, again, at least certainly in the last a couple of decades. So we need to be careful, in my opinion, that we're not allowing things like AI to kill curiosity. And I think the way that we do that is by using AI to um, elevate our work, not just do our work for us. Right. So I think, a couple of years ago when things like Chat GPT first, became more mainstream and well known, I was hearing more and more stories about, hey, I used Chat GPT to write that email for me. Or I even heard stories of managers that were using it to, write performance reviews for employees or whatever. So it was doing their work for them, and it was convenient. It freed up some time for them. But to me, that's a bit counter to continuous learning and growth. So now, if we take that same tool and we use it to help us to iterate, to refine our ideas, to put in maybe 5 or 6 prompts rather than just one prompt, and take an idea and elevate it to the next level. So now it's not just doing my work for me, but it's helping me to get closer to that point of excellence, and also, by the way, maybe even doing it faster or getting there faster. Then I'm all for it. So that would be my advice to any listeners out there. Take AI and use it to elevate your work, not just replace you having to do the work yourself.
And I love that because I've admittedly used it, but it's to, how do I say this differently? Come up with other words. And I always look at it as I'm using it kind of like my thesaurus. Like, is there a different way I could say this? Or sometimes I can be very blunt. And so I say, soften this because I know this is not the best message that I'm sending here. So, but I think I love how you said that. Use it to elevate, not to do, right? We don't use it to get out of doing work. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to finish out the show with the way forward. This is Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. If you missed any of the information during the last segments, go to getrootedradio.com to listen to the replay. Don't forget to subscribe, sign up for tips and special events, and pricing for upcoming coaching sessions at getrootedradio.com. A big welcome back to my guest, Dan Burnett. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, of course. I'm really enjoying it. Thank you again for the invitation.
Yeah, so tell folks how they can connect with you and learn more about what you have to offer.
Yeah, if you'd like to learn more about me, you can go to my website, www.dan-burnett.com. You can find contact information out there. You can find access to my LinkedIn profile, and you could even check out a book that I wrote. It was published back in 2017. So it's called I Am CXO, Now What?
Love it. So go out to the website and check it out. So during the last segments, we've discussed the P word. And if you don't know what that is, that means you need to go back and listen to the replay, your best self, and continuous learning. And during this last segment, we're going to talk about the way forward. So Dan, tell our listeners, how should they, should say, like, how should listeners who are struggling with flawless execution, right? So those that have to have it perfect every single time, how should they reset their thinking?
Yeah, and I think that that power does lie within. So if you are, challenged with this, you have that ability to, um, make some positive movement here. So, I think one thing you can do is pay attention to words. Words do matter. Words have a lot of influence over our thinking and our behavior. And so even something as seemingly innocuous as a response of perfect, right? Like how often do you send out an email and someone replies and says perfect, or you send out a message and says, hey, I'll meet you for lunch at noon today, and the response is perfect. And again, that's just, second nature. We don't even think of it, but is that setting up an unrealistic expectation? There are so few things in our life like that, three perfect 300 bowling game where we can measure with certainty that it's objectively perfect. So just kind of watch your language there, and the setup of expectations, not only for yourself but those around you, whether it's your coworkers or your children or a significant other. And then the second thing I would point out there is, and I really think this has gotten difficult in the age of social media that we live in today, but the comparison culture
Yes.
is hard, and we compare ourselves to others who have a seemingly perfect lifestyle that we're only seeing through the screen on our device, and everybody else is perfect. The reality is probably very different than that, and I mean that in a good and healthy and a loving way, right? Again, we all have our stuff that we deal with in life, and so that comparison is somebody famous said it was the thief of joy.
I was
Comparison is the
just
thief
about
of
to
joy.
say that comparison is the thief of joy. It truly is. I mean, and also and I do this. We put typically our A side. Think of it like oh wow, maybe I'm dating myself, a record, a vinyl for you,
Mhm.
you hipsters out there, right? But like your cassette tapes, you got an A side and a B side. And we're typically always putting our A side out there. And that doesn't mean that we don't have B-sides or we don't have things that are not number one hits. And that comparison sets you up, or you don't see, oh, this is new artists, they're awesome. Well, yeah, they've been on the scene for like 10 years, 15 years. You don't always see the part of the iceberg that's underneath, right? That all the work and the time that has come into that top part of it. And we have to be extremely careful that we don't judge somebody's 10-year into it to your first year. And also, even if it is a 10-year to 10-year, don't do that. People have different time frames, they have
Mm.
different avenues, they have different everything. And so we need to flip that, have that mindset reset. So what about imperfect actions? How do those play into our thinking about the mindset reset?
So, yeah, imperfect actions. It's making a commitment to yourself that you're going to step out of that comfort zone and you're going to put out a product. And product, I say that very generically speaking. That could be anything from a, a work product that you were asked to deliver and at your job. That could be um, a dinner that you're having with a friend who you haven't talked to in a couple of years, whatever it might be, right? To put yourself out there and acknowledge that this is going to feel a little awkward maybe for me. I don't maybe feel like this is fully ready for public consumption. And I'm just going to be okay with that. I'm going to do that imperfect action. And knowing that over time, you can then continue to refine that it is a work in progress, that you have people around you that want to help you and will provide you with the feedback or the support that you need so that you can continue to refine those things and get closer to that end goal of excellence that you've set. But I do want to make a comment here, Erica, on what I think is, as we're working on these imperfect actions, the importance of self-care. And if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't take care of our whole self, the mental side, the physical side, the emotional side, the social side, that there's the burnout and the stress and the anxiety and the things that can present from that pursuit of excellence. So for those that are getting closer to saying, okay, Dan and Erica, I'm willing to give this a try. You need to be compassionate with yourself and make time for yourself and invest in your self-care. And that will help you to continue to move forward in letting go of that notion of flawless execution.
Yeah. Dan, I know we could go on and on forever on this, but our time has come to an end. So I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. Folks, reach out to Dan if you want to get to know more about him, his book, and we'll definitely need to stay in contact, Dan.
Absolutely. Again, thank you so much. I think that was a good spot for us to conclude on. And again, just appreciate the opportunity to have this thoughtful discussion.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to Get Rooted Radio. If you missed any part of today's episode or want to listen again, go to getrootedradio.com for the podcast. And don't forget to tune in the first and third Monday of each month at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, and 2 p.m. Pacific right here on Transformation Talk Revolution. Listeners, I want to have one last personal message as we ended on that mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual understanding. Is if you are hurting or you need help, please know the world needs you and it is a better place with you in it. Don't let the hard days win. Reach out for assistance. Call or text or chat the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, or text HOME, HOME, to 741-741 to reach a trained crisis counselor through the crisis text line. Both are available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and are free. Thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day. Know that you are loved, and I'm looking forward to the next time on Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills. Living it up, loving it up, letting it go. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Get Rooted Radio with Erica Gifford Mills, living it up, loving it up, and letting it go. Visit getrootedradio.com if you've missed any part of this hit show, and tune in on transformationtalkradio.com to live fearlessly in your more and powerfully rooted in your unlimited yes. For more information and to work with Erica directly, visit getrootedradio.com. That's getrootedradio.com, and get ready to live it up, love it up, and let it go.